The sun never shined on the mining colony of Tarkin. Thick smoke from machines filled the sky, and the air smelled like rust and burnt wires. The ground was hard and dusty, and nothing green ever grew there. It was not a place made for beauty. It was a place made for trade, cold, cruel trade. In the center of the colony's market stood a tall metal cage. Inside it sat a small figure, chained at the wrists and ankles. Her name was Thalixa. Her skin was soft silver, her eyes wide and bright blue like ocean water, though she had never seen an ocean. Her long white hair was dirty now, tangled from days of waiting in the cage. She did not cry. She had cried long ago, when her world was taken and her people were scattered. Now she simply waited, silent and still. She was the last of her kind in this sector of Valari, a gentle race known for their peaceful minds and deep connection to music and thought. But peace had no place here. Traders walked by her cage, laughing and pointing. "Look at that one," said. "Probably can't even lift a box." "She's not good for work," said another. "Maybe someone wants her as a pet." Thalixa did not react. She stared at the ground. Then came the voice of the auctioneer, loud and sharp, speaking through an old speaker above the cage. "Next up. Rare. Find one female Valari, quiet, clean, not much use but beautiful. Starting price 50 credits. The crowd did not rush forward. 40? The auctioneer tried. 30? Still, no offers came. "She's not even worth feed." Someone muttered. Then a voice spoke from the back. It was calm, not loud, not angry, just clear. "I'll take her." All heads turned. A man stepped forward, human, tall, with a long coat dusty from travel. His hair was brown and messy, his face was lined with tiredness, but his eyes were kind. He carried no weapon, just a leather bag on his back. His name was Dr. Elias Reed, though few knew it yet. The auctioneer blinked. "Sir, did you say you'll buy her?" Elias nodded. "Yes, the full price." He handed over a card of credits without a word of argument. No haggling, no shouting. "Just a quiet deal. She's all yours," the auctioneer said, laughing. "Hope you like quiet company." Elias ignored him. He walked to the cage. Thalixa looked up, unsure. Most who came close only meant pain or commands, but this man, something was different. He knelt down in front of the cage and unlocked it with a key given to him. "I won't hurt you," he said softly. "You're free. Now, if you want to come." Thalixa did not speak. She couldn't. The collar around her neck was a suppression device. It blocked her voice, her thoughts, everything that made her who she was. Elias saw it and frowned slightly. Not in anger, but in quiet sadness. He took off his coat and gently placed it around her shoulders. It was warm. It smelled like clean air and old books. "Let's get you out of here," he said. She stood slowly. Her legs were weak. He didn't rush her. He offered his arm, and after a long pause, she took it. The crowd watched in silence as the strange pair walked away. The chained alien girl and the quiet human, a vendor whispered, "What do you think he's going to do with her?" Another replied, "Probably nothing. Humans are weird like that, always trying to help." But Elias didn't hear them. And if he had, he wouldn't have cared. All he cared about was the quiet weight on his arm, the way Thalixa leaned just slightly toward him, as if she dared to believe, for the first time in a long time, that someone might actually see her as more than property. They walked slowly toward a small ship parked at the edge of the market. It was old, patched, and not very fast. But it was home. As the door to the ship opened with a soft hiss, Thalixa looked back at the cage one last time. No sadness, just a quiet goodbye, and then, for the first time in years, she stepped into something new. Not a cage, not a command, not a sail, a beginning. The ship was small, but it felt big to Thalixa. The floor was clean, the lights were soft, and the air smelled like metal and old paper. There were books on shelves, green plants in pots, and soft music playing from a speaker near the ceiling. She had never seen a ship like this before. It didn't feel cold. It didn't feel like a prison. Dr. Elias Reed led her down a short hallway. He moved slowly, letting her walk at her own pace. Her legs were still weak, and her wrists were sore from the metal cuffs. "You can rest soon," he said kindly. "There's a room waiting for you." She didn't answer, of course. The collar around her neck still blocked her voice and thoughts, but she looked at him just for a moment. There was a strange look in her eyes, confusion, curiosity, and something else. Hope. Elias opened a door. Inside was a small room with a bed, a window, and a soft chair. A folded blanket sat on the bed. The window showed the stars. "This is your room," he said. "No one will lock the door. No one will chain you. You're safe here." Dalixa walked in slowly. Her fingers touched the wall. Then the blanket, then the window. She had never had her own room. Never had a window. Never been told she was safe. Elias watched her carefully. He didn't speak again. He just left a cup of warm water on the table and stepped outside. He closed the door quietly behind him. In the main room of the ship, Elias sat down in the pilot's seat. The ship, named the Sunflower, hummed softly as it lifted off the ground. He watched the mining colony grow smaller on the screen until it was just a dark spot among the stars. He let out a breath. Not of relief, but of sadness. He had seen too much of this kind of world. Places where people were treated like things. Where no one cared. It never got easier. But today at least, he had made a small difference. Dalixa sat on the bed, holding the blanket in her lap. It was soft, warmer than the clothes she wore. She didn't understand why this human had bought her. People only bought her kind to use them, to control them, to silence them, but Elias had not shouted. He had not laughed. He had not even looked at her the way others did. He simply offered his coat, his arm, and now this room. She looked at the collar around her neck. She hated it. It was the reason she couldn't speak, couldn't sing, couldn't send her thoughts like her people once did. It was a quiet prison she could never escape. She didn't know what the human wanted from her. But she wanted to understand. Later that day, Elias returned to her room. He knocked gently. "May I come in?" Dalixa nodded. He entered, holding a small toolkit. He sat down on the chair and looked at the collar. "I'm not a doctor of machines," he said with a smile, "but I know how this works. I think I can remove it, if you let me." Her eyes widened. She touched the collar slowly, then looked at him. He took that as a yes. "All right," he said gently. "This won't hurt, I promise." His hands moved carefully. The collar had a lock complex, but not impossible. He worked slowly, explaining each step in a calm voice. Dalixa watched, nervous but still. After a few minutes he stopped. "There, try now." She blinked. And then very softly she spoke, just one word. "Thank you." Her voice was musical, quiet like a breeze. Elias smiled. "You're welcome," he said. She placed a hand on her throat, surprised at the sound. Her people were telepathic, yes, but they also had voices, soft, beautiful voices that carried emotion like song. She had not used hers in years. "Do you remember your name?" Elias asked gently. "Dalixa," she said, her voice a little stronger now. "That's a beautiful name," he said. "I'm Elias." She nodded slowly. "You are not like the others." "No," he said. "I'm just human." She tilted her head. "That is new to me," he laughed softly. "You'll find we're a strange kind. Some of us build cages. Others open them." That night, Dalixa stood by the window in her room. She looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, her people had lived in peace. She didn't know how many of them still survived. But here, on this strange little ship, she had a room, a blanket, a voice, and a human who had not seen her as dirt or property. She didn't understand it all yet. But she wanted to, and maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something better. Dalixa woke up slowly. For a moment she forgot where she was. There were no loud voices, no cold floor, no chains. Just the quiet hum of the ship and the soft light of stars through the window. She sat up on the bed and looked around. The small room was still there, just as she remembered. The blanket was still warm, the chair still empty, and outside the stars were still shining. This was not a dream. She was not in the cage anymore. She stood and walked to the window. Her fingers touched the glass. She had seen stars before, but never like this. Not from a place of peace. Not from a place that felt safe. The door made a soft sound, and Elias stepped inside, holding a tray. "Good morning," he said with a gentle smile. "I thought you might be hungry." On the tray was a bowl of warm soup, some soft bread, and a clear cup of water. It wasn't fancy, but it was real food. Not the cold gray cubes the traders gave her before. Felixa looked at him, surprised. "This des is for me?" "Of course," Elias said. "You're part of this ship now." "I take care of my crew." She took the tray slowly, her hands trembling just a little. "I do not know what to say," she whispered. "You don't have to say anything," Elias replied. "Just eat, rest. When you're ready, we can talk more." Later that day, Felixa left her room. She walked carefully through the ship. Every wall, every corner felt strange, but also warm. The ship was old, but it felt lived in, like it had a story. She found Elias in the main room, sitting in front of a screen. He was checking star maps and reading data logs. He didn't notice her at first. Then she spoke. "Your ship? It has a name?" He looked up, smiling. "Yes, it's called the Sunflower." "Sun ... Flower?" she repeated slowly. "It's a plant from Earth," he explained. "Small, yellow, bright. It always turns toward the sun." She thought for a moment. "That is a good name." Elias closed the map and turned to her. "Would you like a tour?" Felixa nodded. She was still shy, still unsure, but something in her heart wanted to learn more. Elias showed her the ship. There was a small kitchen with real food, not just space rations. A little library with paper books, not just screens. A room with plants, growing in long boxes under lights. "You grow these?" she asked, touching a green leaf. "Yes," he said. "They clean the air and remind me of home." "Earth?" He nodded. "It's not perfect, but it's where I'm from." She ran her fingers across a book cover. "My people had books too. Songs, stories. We sang to the stars." Elias looked at her gently. "Do you still remember them?" "A few," she said, her voice soft. "But the collar, it blocked my thoughts, my voice. Now I feel ... slow." "You're not," he said firmly. "You're just healing. That takes time." They walked in silence for a while. Felixa felt something strange in her chest. A warmth she had almost forgotten. A sense of being seen, not just watched. That night, Felixa sat in the library. She picked up a small book with pictures of flowers. She didn't know the words, but the images made her smile. She didn't feel afraid. Then, gently, she began to hum, just a small sound like wind through trees. Elias, passing by the doorway, stopped and listened. The melody was soft and sad, but beautiful. Her voice carried feelings words could not. Even without full strength, her song reached the corners of the ship, wrapping around it like light. When she finished, she looked up and saw Elias standing there. "I'm sorry," she said, embarrassed. "Don't be," he said. "That was the most beautiful thing I've heard in years." She looked down, a small smile on her lips. "It is called a memory song. We sing it to remember those who are gone." Elias walked in and sat across from her. "Do you think your people are still out there?" he asked. "I don't know," she replied honestly, "but I hope." He nodded. "Then we'll look for them." She blinked. "You would help me?" "Of course," he said. "That's what friends do." Friends. It was a simple word, but it felt heavy in her heart. She had never had a friend before. Not really. Not since her world changed. She looked out the window again. The stars still shined, just like before. But now they didn't feel so far away. Now she had a voice. Now she had a room. Now she had a friend. And for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to believe this journey had just begun. The sunflower glided quietly through space. Stars drifted by the windows, and inside the ship felt calm. Life aboard the ship was simple, but for Felixa, it felt like freedom. She now walked the halls without fear. Her steps were still light, but no longer full of worry. The fear in her eyes had begun to fade. Every day she spoke a little more. Every day her voice grew stronger. Elias gave her space, but he was always there when she needed him. He taught her how to use the ship's systems, how to read maps, how to understand human words and numbers. She learned quickly. Her mind, once locked by the collar, was full of light again. One day, as they shared a simple meal in the kitchen, Thalixa looked at Elias and said, "I want to find my people." Elias didn't look surprised. "I thought you might say that." She touched her heart. "If they are still alive, they will need help, like I did." He nodded. "Then we'll search." "Do you know where they might be?" She shook her head. "The Villari used to travel by sound. We had star songs paths made from music and memory, but the songs are broken now, scattered." "Can you remember any part of them?" Elias asked. Thalixa closed her eyes. For a long time she was quiet. Then slowly she began to hum. A low, soft tune, full of mystery. Elias listened closely. The melody had a rhythm, a pattern. It repeated in a way that felt mathematical. "Wait," he said. "That's not just a song, that's a code." Thalixa opened her eyes. "A code?" He stood up and ran to the control panel. "Yes, I think the song is a map. Your people hid locations inside the music." She followed him, hope rising in her chest. She had always thought of the songs as memories, but maybe they were more than that. Elias played the tune into the ship's computer. It scanned the melody and turned it into data. The notes became numbers. The numbers formed patterns. After a few minutes, a small star system blinked on the screen. "There," Elias said, pointing. "That's a real place. Not far from here." Thalixa's hands shook. "Do you think they are there?" "There's only one way to find out." The sunflower changed course. The journey took 2 days. During that time, Thalixa sat by the window thinking. She wanted to believe her people were still alive. But another part of her was afraid. What if they were gone? What if she was the last? Elias noticed her silence. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. "I'm scared," she admitted. He nodded. "That's okay. I'd be scared too." She looked at him. "If we find them, I want to help them. I want to be useful." "You already are," Elias said. "You're brave. You're strong. You survived. That means something." She didn't reply, but she smiled a little. On the 3rd day they arrived. The system had 5 planets. One of them, a small blue-green world, showed signs of energy. Elias slowed the ship. "There's a signal coming from the surface. It's weak, but familiar." Thalixa leaned forward. "It's a Villari signal." They followed the signal and landed near a quiet valley. The world was peaceful. Green hills, clear air, and strange, tall flowers that moved gently in the wind. "It's beautiful," Thalixa whispered. They stepped outside together. The ground felt soft under their feet. Then, from the distance, a sound echoed through the valley. "A song," Thalixa gasped. "It's a memory song," she cried. "My people are here." She ran toward the sound. Elias followed, smiling. At the edge of a grove, they saw them. A small group of Villari, tired, thin, but alive. They were sitting in a circle, singing softly. When they saw Thalixa, their song stopped. Silence fell. Then an elder stepped forward. Her hair was silver and her face was lined with age. "Thalixa?" she said, her voice shaking. "Yes," Thalixa said, tears in her eyes. "It's me." The elder reached out and touched her face gently. "We thought you were lost." "I was," Thalixa whispered. "But he found me." She turned to Elias, who stood a little behind, unsure if he should speak. The elder looked at him and bowed slightly. "You are a friend of the Villari?" Elias nodded. "I'm just someone who believes no one should be alone," the elder smiled. "Then you are welcome." That night the Villari sang a new song. It was not a memory song, it was a song of return. Thalixa sat among her people, Elias beside her. She looked at the stars and then at the human, who had changed her life. She was no longer just a voice behind chains. She was no longer lost. She was home. The valley was peaceful, and the stars above seemed brighter than anywhere else. Thalixa stood at the edge of the Villari camp, watching her people prepare their evening meal. The air smelled of herbs and flowers. The tall plants around them swayed gently with the wind, like they were dancing to a song only the Villari could hear. The camp was small, only a few dozen survivors, but their voices were full of warmth. They laughed, they sang, they shared stories. Many of them cried when they saw Thalixa. She was thought to be lost forever, but now she was home. Elias sat by the fire, eating a bowl of simple stew. A young Villari child sat beside him, asking questions about Earth, humans, and the sunflower. Do humans sing to the stars like we do? The child asked. Elias smiled. Not usually. But maybe we should. Thalixa approached and sat down beside him. They... Like you, she said softly. I'm glad, he replied. They have good hearts. Thalixa looked around. This place... It's peaceful, but they're not safe here, Elias nodded. I know. I've been scanning the planet. There's no threat now, but if someone finds them... She finished his sentence. They'll be taken again, or worse. He placed his bowl down. So, what do we do? Thalixa looked at him, her eyes full of quiet strength. We help them rebuild. We teach them what you taught me, to think beyond survival. Elias was silent for a moment, then smiled. Then let's start. Over the next few days, Elias and Thalixa worked side by side. He repaired broken tools and taught the Villari how to build simple machines using the parts from the sunflower's storage. Thalixa translated, explained, and guided her people gently. She was no longer silent or afraid. She had become a bridge between two worlds. Together they built water filters, solar lights, and a small communication tower. The Villari watched closely, eager to learn. Even the children helped, carrying small parts and asking curious questions. Elias also taught them how to grow more food using new techniques. They started gardens with different vegetables and grains, mixing their old ways with new ideas. Thalixa smiled more now. She sang often. Her songs were stronger each day, filled with light and hope. Her voice became a signal calling others, reminding the stars that the Villari were still alive. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, Elias found Thalixa sitting by a clear stream. She was humming softly, her feet in the water, her eyes on the sky. He sat beside her. You've changed a lot, she nodded. I have forgotten who I was. You reminded me. He looked at the flowing stream. I only gave you space to be yourself. That was more than anyone ever gave me. They sat in silence for a while, the wind rustling the trees, the water singing its own soft melody. Then Thalixa turned to him. There are more out there, more of my kind, still lost, still hiding. Still wearing those collars. I know, he said quietly. I want to find them. He looked at her with steady eyes. Then we will. The next day, Thalixa stood before her people. She wore a simple cloth around her shoulders, the color of her homeworld's sun-deep gold. Her hair flowed freely now, no longer tied or hidden. She looked strong. I was lost, she said, her voice clear. Taken from you, chained, silenced. But I found a light in the dark, a human who did not see me as dirt, but as a person. He helped me find my voice again. She looked at Elias, who stood at the edge of the crowd. We are few, but we are not broken. We have songs, we have each other, and now we have knowledge. If we stay here, we may be found. But if we rise, if we search, we may find the rest of our kind. The Villari stood quietly, listening. I want to fly again, she continued. Not as a prisoner, but as a seeker. I will go, and I will return with others. Though still hidden, still waiting for someone to believe in them. One by one, heads began to nod. The elder stepped forward. You have our blessing, Thalixa. You are the voice of our people, Elias smiled. I guess we're going back to the stars, Thalixa looked at him. Yes, but this time not to run, to rescue. That night the stars sang above the valley, and the Villari answered with voices full of hope. The sunflower was ready. The mission was clear. They were no longer just survivors. They were messengers of peace, of light, and of second chances, and Thalixa, the girl who was once chained and forgotten, was now a leader. She looked at the stars with new eyes. Tomorrow the search would begin. The sunflower soared through the stars once again, but this time Thalixa was not a quiet passenger. She sat beside Elias in the pilot's seat, her fingers moving confidently over the ship's controls. Her eyes were focused, her voice steady. This system has 3 moons, she said, pointing to a blinking light on the map. The second moon once held a Valari shelter. I think some may still be there, Elias nodded. We'll check it. The silence between them was not empty. It was comfortable. Trust had grown strong between them like the quiet space between two notes in a song. The kind of silence that means you're not alone. After a few hours, they reached the system. The second moon floated quietly, half covered in shadow. The scanner beeped. There's a signal, Elias said. Weak, but real. It's a memory signal, Felixa whispered. They're calling, just like I did. The sunflower touched down gently on the moon's rocky surface. The land was gray and still. The air was thin but breathable. Felixa stepped outside first, her boots pressing softly into the dust. She closed her eyes and listened, there, faint and far, but present a song not one of joy, a song of waiting, of loneliness. They're underground, she said. Hiding, Elias followed with a small case of supplies. Let's bring them home. They found the entrance hidden behind a cluster of sharp rocks. Felixa placed her hand on a flat metal plate, and a small door opened with a quiet sigh. Inside the air was warm, lights flickered on weakly. Shapes moved in the shadows, cautious, unsure. Then came a whisper. Is it safe? Felixa stepped forward. Yes, you're not alone anymore. From the shadows, 5 Valari stepped into the light. They looked tired, thinner than most, but their eyes still held a spark of life. One of them, a young male with a cracked voice, stared at her. You sing the ancient songs. Felixa nodded. I was once lost like you, but I was found. She stepped aside, and Elias entered the chamber. The Valari stared at him in silence. Humans had not always been kind to them, but Elias said nothing. He simply smiled and placed a soft blanket and food on a small table. He's not like the others, Felixa said. He listens. The smallest of the group, a child with silver eyes, took a step forward. Will you take us to the stars? Felixa knelt and took the child's hand. Yes, to a place where we can sing freely again. Over the next 2 days, the small Valari group recovered on the ship. They ate, they rested, and they listened to Felixa's stories. She sang to them songs of home, of freedom, of courage. Songs they had not heard in many years. Elias adjusted the sleeping area, added extra blankets, and taught them how to use the small tablet screens. One of the Valari, a girl named Orena, sat with Elias during dinner. You are a strange human, she said honestly. He chuckled. I get that a lot. You do not ask for anything, she added. Why? Because no one should have to earn kindness, Elias replied. It should be given freely, Orena looked at him quietly. Then she smiled. A small one, but real. With the rescued Valari now safe on board, Felixa and Elias moved on to the next system. They followed old signals, broken songs, and scattered memories. Each planet brought a new story, a small group hiding inside an abandoned station, 2 survivors in a crashed ship, still lighting signal fires each night, a single voice echoing through an empty moon, an old elder singing to the stars, hoping someone would hear. And each time, Felixa answered, I hear you, she would say. Come with us, you are not forgotten. Elias, always beside her, helped carry them aboard, fixed what he could, gave what was needed. After several weeks, the Sunflower was no longer just a ship. It was a home, a moving city of voices and songs. The Valari filled it with laughter, learning, and the quiet joy of being free. They painted symbols on the wall, shapes of stars, flowers, and the sun. They made new songs that mixed human words with Valari melodies. Even Elias hummed a few, much to their amusement. Felixa stood on the upper deck, watching them one evening. Elias joined her, holding 2 cups of warm tea. They're healing, he said. Yes, she replied. And so am I, he looked at her. You've become more than just a voice. You're a leader now. I don't know if I'm ready for that. You already are. She smiled, holding the cup close. The stars outside were countless, endless. But for the first time, they didn't seem cold or unreachable. They were roads, and she was ready to walk them. The Sunflower sailed through the dark sky, quiet and full of life. Inside, the once empty ship now felt like a home. Valari children laughed in the halls, soft music played in the background, and the smell of warm food drifted from the kitchen. Thalixa stood at the window in the control room. Her eyes were fixed on the screen ahead. There it is, she said. The last signal. Elias walked in beside her, wiping his hands after fixing the air system. We've come a long way. She nodded. Do you think someone is still waiting there? Elias looked at the blinking light on the map. The signal is old, but steady. It means someone didn't give up. Thalixa took a deep breath. Then neither will we. The final signal came from a small, forgotten planet near the edge of the charted zone. It wasn't listed on any of the new star maps, and no humans had visited it for a long time. As the sunflower entered orbit, clouds covered most of the surface. Lightning flashed far below. This place looks quiet, Elias said, scanning the surface. No, Thalixa said. It's singing. She placed a hand over her chest. Very faint, but I feel it. A Valari song. Elias smiled. Then let's go. They landed near a ridge covered in blue trees. Rain fell lightly as they stepped out, boots pressing into the soft ground. A gentle breeze carried the sound of music. Like a whisper in the wind, they followed the sound deeper into the forest. After nearly an hour of walking, they reached a cave entrance. Inside, it was warm and dry. A dim light flickered far back. Then they heard its soft humming. Thalixa stepped forward. Hello? The humming stopped. A voice answered. Is this real, or just another dream? It's real, Thalixa said gently. We're here to help. Out of the shadows, an old Valari male stepped into the light. His silver hair hung loosely and his robes were torn but clean. His eyes held years of waiting. You carry the new songs, he said to Thalixa. She nodded. And we've come to carry yours. His eyes welled with quiet tears. I waited for so long. I thought I was the last. You're not, Elias said kindly. There are many now. A growing family. You're going home. Back on the ship, the elder sat with the other rescued Valari. He sang softly, and the others joined him. The songs mixed old and new, past and present. The air felt full of light. Elias leaned on the wall, watching them. I never thought I'd be part of something like this. You didn't just become part of it, Thalixa said. You helped build it. She looked around at her people, smiling and talking like they once did long ago. Do you see what you've done? She asked him. Elias shook his head. It wasn't just me. It was you. You were the spark. Thalixa looked out the window. The stars were shining more brightly now. Not because they had changed, but because she had. Then let's finish what we started, she said. Let's take them home. And so, the sunflower turned toward the green world where it all began. When the ship entered the system, cheers filled the halls. The valley came into view, and the soft flowers still danced with the wind. They landed in the same spot as before. The Valari who stayed behind came running toward the ship. The reunion was full of tears, hugs, and songs. Children met their grandparents. Sisters saw brothers again. Families who had lost hope were whole once more. Thalixa stood in the middle of it all, her heart full. She had once been a quiet voice in the shadows. Now she was the reason so many voices sang together again. That evening, the whole valley glowed with lights. The Valari lit lanterns made from crystal flowers, each one glowing a soft gold. They hung them in the trees, along the paths, and around the camp. Elias stood at the edge. Watching the celebration, Thalixa walked over and stood beside him. They want to name the new village after you, she said, smiling. He looked surprised. Me? Yes, she replied. They call it Elyon. It means one who listens in our language. Elias looked down, touched. I didn't expect any of this. You didn't need to, Thalixa said. You gave something most never do. You gave kindness without asking anything in return. He turned to her. And you gave hope to your people. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Thalixa held out her hand. Come, she said. Let's celebrate. Elias took her hand, and together they walked into the glowing valley. Laughter, music, and soft light surrounded them. Thalixa had once been chained, treated as nothing. Now she was a symbol of freedom, of hope, of strength. With a human by her side. She had found her purpose. Not as a servant, not as a lost voice, but as a leader, a song, a light among the stars and their journey. was only just beginning.